All right, the Department of Social Development outlines its mandate to provide social protection services to vulnerable individuals, groups and communities so that they can become capable and self-reliant participants in their own development. During the coronavirus pandemic, the work of the department has been on ensuring social relief for many South Africans who are vulnerable at this time. On the catch-up, we chat to Minister of Social Development, Lindiwe Zulu, to find out about these developments. Minister, very good morning to you. Thank you for joining us here on Weekend Dawn. I mean, just looking at the role of the Social Development Department, particularly the response to the COVID-19 risk-adjusted approach. I mean, walk us through what it's looked like during these days of COVID-19.
Yes, well, it's difficult for everyone. It's difficult for each and every South African. It's something new that came as a shock to all of us. But we recovered from the shock and we're doing the best that we can. Firstly, to make sure that all of us as individual citizens, we are aware of the dangers that come along with COVID-19, and therefore the continued call by government, by civil society, by NGOs to people to say, please protect yourself, because when you protect yourself, you also protect people around you. As you step outside of your home, and we are appreciative of the fact that people need to go and work, people need to earn a living, but we want everyone to be aware that as we do so at level 3, this virus continues to devastate the entire world, and we are no exception, except that our figures in comparison to other places are still low, even though they are growing right now.
Minister, you know, these are unprecedented times, and oftentimes we're learning on the go. Just before we delve into some of the concerns and challenges that your department has faced, and include some of the success stories, I just want to touch on Child Protection Week that obviously concluded last week. You visited the Door of Hope home. We obviously also covered it here on Newzroom Afrika, and it was just highlighting the importance of protecting children during these times. I mean, we know that the issues of trauma and also just the empowered structures from community and society at large, how that impacts the child at large. Can you walk us through what the activity plans has been for the most vulnerable, particularly the children, during these times?
Well, firstly, as a department, it is our responsibility to look out for the most vulnerable. Of course, our mandate as a department is to ensure that each and every South African really sees a path and goes through a path to their own future, whether they're young or the old. But in this particular case, we are looking out to those that are most vulnerable. And in this case, we went out during Child Protection Week to visit places where children are kept, not at homes. That's one of the most painful things, is when children are unable to grow up in a normal environment of mother, father, grandmother, and communities and all that. So we support those children, although they are kept by NPOs and NGOs. We support the NGOs through financial assistance. We give almost like 4,000 per child in different homes. The ones that we visited in the Northwest was quite exciting because the children are not separated from communities. They live within the community. There are families that take them, and there are caregivers who live within the families. So they are not in isolation like the ones we went to in Mpumalanga, where they live in a special place that's far away from normal homes. So we want to call on our communities really to always be very supportive. And at this time, also, we were looking out for telltale signs, especially of violence against women and children, but of violence against children in particular. That is one of the biggest challenges we face in South Africa, where women are being killed almost on a daily basis. And I was saying, if only we could pull ourselves together as much as we have done in facing COVID-19 and doing everything and stopping at nothing to make sure that we fight this disease. I would like us to do exactly the same in the fighting against violence against women and children. Pull all stops to make sure that this ends. And at this time, obviously, many of the children and the women who are abused find it very difficult to go out because of the restrictions and the movement and so forth. But I think that this is something that collectively as a nation we need to wake up to it, because it is a shame on us as a nation. It is a pain for women. Women are scared of their lives. And it is possible for us to end it. It is also possible for us to go and have conversations with the perpetrators, because I'd like to really go and have conversations with the perpetrators. What drives any human being into such being such a monster? What drives a person to that? Because if we don't get into that, we might end up marching, we might end up complaining, we might end up just arresting people and throwing them in prison, and not really getting to the bottom of what is it that we need to do as community to stop it, to end it? How do we help people long before they get to that point?
And Minister, as you mentioned, finding the root systemic causes of these issues is pertinent. But we've also seen that since the lift of the alcohol ban, the trauma units have also increased, many attributing the increase of this GBV scourge to the use of alcohol at large. How do you as a department balance the two, knowing that, on the one end there is the economic factor that one has to consider, but also factoring in the ripple effects of these societal issues that we're facing?
Yes, we as you are aware, in our programs, we've got programs that speak directly to substance abuse and drugs and alcohol and all. We've got programs that we work with the provinces and the local structures to just make an awareness and even go through psychosocial support through social workers that we have throughout, including the institutions where we keep those that are wanting to come out of either substance abuse or alcohol abuse. That's how we work in terms of ensuring that we pass legislation, we pass regulation, we have programs that are supportive. But for me, this goes beyond just us as a Department of Social Development. It's about the entire government. It's about health. It's about education. It's about lifting people out and making people see value in themselves. Because it's when you see value in yourself that you tell yourself, I'm not going to do this. Even alcohol is there, but the challenges of alcohol in South Africa, it's abuse of alcohol. When people binge, when people drink beyond normal, and then when they have drank or they've drunk so much, they don't know what they did the previous day. It's really a pain, and our contribution as a department is to really call on us all as a nation to find best ways of dealing with it. And I know that there's been a lot of noise outside about Minister Liezle saying that alcohol must be banned and all that. The bottom line is that what the police see, what the police have to encounter all the time is what forces Minister Liezle, for instance, to talk about banning alcohol, because we've gone beyond normal. It's not for me to say whether it should be banned or not, but I'm just saying that at the end of the day, our responsibility as a department is to contribute constructively towards an engagement, both with the private sector, with the civil society, with NPOs, with NGOs, to say, can we look for solutions? Because people say, well, we drink because we've got nothing, but they have to go and buy the drink. They still have to buy, still have to use the money. So when all is said and done, it is a call from us as a department that we should not be known worldwide as a nation that just itself to death. We should not be known as a nation that kills its women. We should not be known to the world and to the African continent in particular as a nation that is unable to take care of the women and children in our country.
Minister, since the lockdown was enforced, we're looking at some of the strides that have been taken and also some of the challenges that the department, your department in particular, has experienced to date. I mean, we've seen the social relief funds, which, amounts to about 1% of the GDP, that 350 COVID-19 relief of distress grant. I just want to know, in terms of the rollout of that, what have been some of the biggest challenges you faced? I mean, we've heard reports of glitches, slower issuing than expected. There's been double payments, etc. in some provinces. How have you been able to learn from those mistakes? And what are the biggest challenges for your department as we speak?
Yes, firstly, with regard to the increases that were announced by the president, remember that there were increases that had to be made across all the social grants, from the children's grants to elderly. That went well, save for that, as you say, that glitch that happened only last month, where we had more paid. In the Western Cape, people were paid for 2 months, and in KZN, some were not paid. That was corrected already. We no longer have that problem, because this month everything went well. All the old age grants and the grant for disabled, foster child, combination care dependency, child support, that went very well this past month, so we didn't have that kind of a problem. What we are still grappling with right now is about the special grant, which is the 350 that has to be paid to everyone. And even there, I can indicate that to date, there has been an improvement, because we had 30 million applications, and we have already started doing the payments already. I don't think we're going to have much of a problem now, because firstly, we had to create a system that was now going to focus only on the 350. And so, because we also needed to make sure that all the other grants that we pay, the grant recipients of other social grants, should not be the ones that apply for this. And mark my words, we had thousands and thousands who actually received social grants who applied for that grant. We've been able to segregate that very well now, and we've actually started paying already, and I think that in the month of June, in particular by the 15th, we're going to be seeing quite a huge number of payments beyond 1 million and over. But of course, when all this is said and done, the announcement was made by the president that we have to pay those who are unemployed for a good 6 months, and we have to pay, because even those that did not receive their money in May, we have to pay them, those that applied and those that qualified, that we cleared, that they are not getting any other social grant from anybody. They are not getting UIF, they are not getting NSFAS, and it's been a bit difficult for us to do those segregations. But right now, all systems go. We've put our systems in place, and we needed also to improve our systems internally, so that we don't spend too much money now finding solutions in the outside, paying the 350 to the millions who are unemployed.
The